All right, we are live. I want to introduce a very special guest of mine. His name is Joey de la Reyes. Me and him go back. I interviewed him about 5 years ago, and this
Wow.
is the re-interview to see what things have changed in like the last 5 years.
Yeah.
A little bio on Joey. He's the founder and co-owner and program director of Kombat Arts Training Academy, which has been in operation for almost 20 years. His location is actually in Mississauga. He's the head coach for the Thai boxing and low kick category for the CAS Junior National Team in 2008. He was the co-head coach for the K1 low kick category CAS Senior National Team in 2009. Former director of CAS Thai Boxing Committee. He's the co-head coach for the Canadian team that attended the 2006 World Amateur Muay Thai Championships in Bangkok. Successfully taught Muay Thai to multiple organizations. And he's also a former instructor for the Dufferin Roman Catholic School Board. I could go on and on about his credentials, but I'm going to let Joey introduce himself. Joey, thank you so much again for doing this interview, my man.
No problem. I love the stuff that you do, and I love your entrepreneurial martial arts spirit. So I love being here. It's great. And I think your viewers are like you, so I like talking to them too as much as possible. So I'm glad to be back on the show, man. It's pretty awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, Joey. All right, first off, what was your story? Take us back before you even started Kombat Arts, but how you got started and set up in the whole fitness industry?
So when I set up in martial arts, you pretty much know the story, but I'll tell it to your viewers. I grew up not like really poor. It was kind of like that poor / middle class. So I grew up in a social assistance kind of society. And then we weren't really poor, but the area we lived in was a pretty rough area. And then you learn really quickly, you had to learn martial arts. You had to learn how to defend yourself right away. And it was weird because all my friends at the time did martial arts. That's all we did. We watched Channel 47, Kid with the Golden Arm, The 5 Deadly Venoms. We all did martial arts, right? So we grew up. That's the one thing that kind of bridged the so-called racism back then. I didn't think there was racism back then, but evidently there was. But all my friends did martial arts, so it was really cool. And then, it's just many years of sort of in karate and taekwondo. And I didn't really like the fact that there wasn't much contact even back then, right? And I remember my sensei was offering boxing lessons in his karate studio. And I go, I don't really like this karate stuff. I want to try boxing. I like the contact kind of stuff. Maybe I was in the wrong, wasn't that much contact. I was a yellow belt, I was belligerent, whatever. But I really liked the contact because I did a little bit of boxing with my uncle. My uncle taught me informally some boxing and stick fighting. And I liked that kind of contact. So when I went to go ask my sensei if I could do some boxing, he was like, no, you have to wait till you get your black belt before you do any boxing. I was like, oh man, that to me didn't make any sense. So I kind of left there and went off on my own. I ran across MAFA, which is still in existence nowadays. It was called the Martial Arts Fitness Academy or Martial Arts Fighting Academy back then. And, they were ahead of their time. They were offering Muay Thai, boxing, Jeet Kune Do, and Kali. And so I joined there. I actually paid for my friend's first month too, because I was so scared. So I got him to join with me. I paid for his first month membership. And I stayed there for about it seemed like maybe 5 or 7 years studying all these great martial arts. Of course, I love Bruce Lee. I love Jeet Kune Do. I grew up in that Bruce Lee era, the Jeet Kune Do era. I think my martial arts career was traditional martial arts. We went through the Bruce Lee era, the Kali era, the ninja phase, and then the reality-based fighting and MMA. That was my martial arts career over the last couple of decades. I went off from MAFA to go try some kickboxing and boxing on my own, and I got beat up. I got my ass can I swear here? I got beat up pretty badly. And you know what? I was really embarrassed because I thought I was the cat's meow. I go, I'm doing Jeet Kune Do. The wave, the intercepting fist, I could float like water, float like a butterfly, intercept like water, whatever. I could do all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
But when it came to real application, I really sucked. And that was man, I can't believe that. So I kind of went off on my own journey. I trained at these boxing clubs, kickboxing clubs, and started to get some real life experience. What Bruce Lee really talked about, you got to jump in the water and actually swim.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really good academically at JKD and academically good at these martial arts, but I wasn't really good at applying it. And then the natural course back then for a lot of us was to go work the door, to be tough guys. Okay. So I went to work in the door. I was a doorman. I was the smallest doorman out there in the whole world. And then I went into things like private investigation. I used to work for different stores, a private investigator making arrests. I did a lot of surveillance, a lot of private investigation, and I went into bodyguarding work, what they call executive protection. I did a couple stints with Microsoft and this bodyguarding company.
Very cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so I did all this stuff. I got to actually apply it now in real life scenario, like arresting people, like people that actually would fight back against me, and some of them actually knew what they were doing. So it was a pretty cool world of like studying different martial arts, seeing what kind of worked, what applied, and everything. And then we had different disagreements about how Mafia was going to run, even though Crew Gerald and I are really good friends to this day. We just had different business ideas. So I decided to go off on my own. I went off on my own to basically open up my own facility, but I had no money. So I started off in the parking lot. I started off in a parking lot with 40 students. And we used the shade of an 18-wheeler basically to give us shade. And we would train in the park or a parking lot, et cetera, et cetera. And then my friend of mine, Henderson Thorne, he's an Olympian bodybuilder. He was one of the co-owners of Gold's Gym, which was located in Burnhamthorpe and Dixie area. So he offered me to use their aerobic studio, which is about 2,500 square feet. So I went in there with about 40 students, and dude, it just blew up from there. From there, we left within 2 years. Fast forward to 20 years later on, our current location, we're approximately 13,500 square feet. We have about 30 staff members, including volunteers, staff, instructors, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
We teach the gambit of basically boxing, Muay Thai, Savate Boxe Français, French kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Jeet Kune Do, Bruce Lee's martial art, Kali, the Filipino martial arts, Krav Maga, and strength conditioning programs for various age groups, teens, kids, and adults. And then myself, I still study judo right now. I just took up judo in the last 5 years, and I just took up Krav Maga recently.
Nice. How big is your space again?
It's 13,500.
13. That's a big spot, and you kind of do a whole bunch of stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Joey, I want you to actually take me back to that story about in the parking lot, because I don't think most people know about the grind of entrepreneurship when they're starting out.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
Like when I first started off, like I was like, I'll go back even further when I was on Mafia, and I would like start doing my own private lessons. And I was struggling, like everyone struggles, but I was like trying to go to university. I was in Ryerson University doing aerospace engineering. I rented a room, and I had 2 jobs. And one of them was basically working at the YMCA, training people, and working in a nightclub at a pool hall. And I would basically sleep underneath the pool table. I would work all night. I would covertly shut the door, lock the door. There's a 24-hour pool hall. I'd shut the doors around 3 o'clock in the morning, sleep underneath the pool table, get at least 3 hours sleep, go to the YMCA, work all day, and then jump on the bus. I didn't have a car. I couldn't afford a car or a cab if I had extra money, and go do private lessons at people's houses if I was lucky. So I would lose money. Wow. I would lose money doing private lessons because of, the taxi, the cab. I was in the car with all my weapons, my bags. I would, tie pads. I'd go to their house and teach them privately, and I would lose money. And I would just do it just to get my name out there, to see what worked, what failed, what did well. And, I would just charge like about $10, $20 a private lesson just to get my name out there, $10,
$20 out. Yeah.
Yeah. Just to get my name out, just to get out there and do stuff. Right. And so when I taught in the parking lot, I remember like it was so hard because like I had no pads. We had no pads. And it's almost like now we had no pads and everything. And we had to we actually hit each other, but not like crazy, right? We hit each other and everything. We had no mats. So we would do takedowns on the concrete. Oof. Our attendance was very simple. I would just take your name and write it down on a piece of paper and take your attendance. We didn't have the phones we had nowadays.
Yeah.
So there wasn't any mass texting. It was like I think then pagers were getting phased out. So I had a pager. You imagine a pager. Yeah. So
paging people about classes when they start.
Yeah, with their classes and everything. I would our business cards was like a flimsy piece of paper. Those take one things you put on a tree or a post. I had take one posters.
You just stuck it on the tree, eh?
Yeah, just stuck it on a tree, and there's a take one poster, and that's how it worked. And you would text me, and I would get to a phone, my phone, those flip phones. My highest advanced phone was what I want to go forward one was like the rim. What was it called? The BlackBerry. That was like my high. Yeah. And, usually it was a flip phone. And you would just text people like a number, go call me back at this number. And that was it. That's how I started off.
Dude, and these are just people like walking by. There was no Facebook ads back then. There was no advertising.
Man. People would watch you. Like, I remember one time, like, I'll tell you a funny story. I was doing a private lesson and I took out a training knife. It looked like a real knife. And okay, I'm gonna attack my student with a knife. So I went to go attack my student with a knife, and he decided to be a clown. He started running away from me, screaming in the middle of this park. No, take my money, don't kill me, da 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 da. And so he's running through this crowded park screaming, and I'm standing there with my mouth open going, what are you doing? With this apparently looking like real knife in my hand. You know the crazy thing is? Nobody looked at him.
No.
Nobody looked at me, and nobody cared. Nobody cared. Nobody wanted to help this guy. And we were done. We laughed about it later on, and we're laughing about it. Going, wow, nobody helped you. Nobody helped you, Mike. That I had this knife in my hand, and nobody cared.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
So you had to help. You had to learn the hard way. It's kind of like what you were saying earlier about like you think you know the theory of business. Hey, I offer this service, and I'm going to teach it for a fair price, and people are going to hopefully come. It's kind of like learning fighting out of a book and being like, I know how to fight. Until you get into the fight, you're like, this is nothing.
Oh yeah, man. And you know what? Like, Joe, you say a really cool thing there too. That, and because you're a good fighter, people think they want to come to you and train. They go, oh, this guy's fought before. He knows how to teach. He can teach me martial arts, how to fight, and he knows how to run a business. And as well as I know, I may have a black belt in the ring or a black belt in martial arts, but that doesn't carry over to your ability to teach to the masses, to identify your students' needs. And secondly, too, how to transfer those skills to business. Those are two different things, right? So, you may be good at fighting and everything, but your student doesn't care.
Yeah.
Like, I found out quickly, like, I trained under Larry Hartzell, who trained with Bruce Lee. But when I would drop that name down, go, look at me, I trained Larry Hartzell. People are like, I don't really care. They didn't really know who he was, right? They go, can you train me? Can you teach me safely? Can you get me from point A to point B? Can you help me with my goals in a safe environment? I can't go to work next day with a black eye. I don't have a concussion. I don't live in feudal Japan anymore. I need to actually make an income, right? That's just the way it is. Right. And then back then, until to this day, martial artists don't think they should be paid for what they're worth, which is really sad. And that carries over to the fitness industry. So back then when I started martial arts, heaven forbid if you made money. And to this day, if you made money, you're considered like, oh, it's taboo. You're a McDojo. Money, you shouldn't be charging for your services. That's wrong. The idea that you should walk around with a bowl in your hand and catching flies with the chopsticks and eating rice every day and orange saffron robes and wearing flip-flops because you should be poor when you teach martial arts is wrong. It's totally wrong. Someone like you who's been putting in their time and everything, investing their time, their body, their knowledge, they're spending like about, your job doesn't stop at 5 o'clock.
Oh, for sure. No.
Clients still reach you at all hours of the day because they need your help. They need your advice. Yeah. That's the kind of service and over the top value that you give, Joe.
Yeah.
That's what I like about you. And people have to see that. And then you're always studying. We, as a martial artist, I think, sorry, I'm going to be biased, even so more so than the fitness industry, we have a white belt mentality. You know what I mean? And you're always trying to learn. Like at least the best martial artists out there.
For sure.
Like the white belt mentality. They're always picking up new things. Yeah. Personally, I may disagree about the fighting applicability of martial arts, which is, who cares? That's argumentative, right?
Yeah.
I can watch Tai Chi, I can watch Taekwondo and go, man, look how those guys move.
Yeah.
And then can I take that teaching methodology and apply it to my school? Damn right I can. You don't want to have that black belt mentality all the time, especially when it comes to teaching and business.
For sure. And you say something really important, like you might be a black belt in martial arts, but not a black belt in business. And those are two completely different things. And I think it applies. There's application to this across the board, whether it's fitness, business, martial arts.
Yeah.
Like going in there with a white belt mindset, like a beginner's mind, an empty cup.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's the people I find, and even with this going back to clients, people that come in thinking they know everything.
Right.
Clients that don't get the best results.
Yeah. And you think they like, again, I'm not like disregarding what my students think they may need, right? But they come in thinking like, this is what I need. Actually, no, like you don't need like a TRX. You don't need that stuff. You just need to know how to move your body. You know, you need to actually get back to your body. How does your body move? And I need to buy 50 supplements. No, you ever heard of water? Have you heard of vegetables? These are like, let's get back to the basic ideas. And in there, we could build on that. You know what I mean?
I heard something really, a quote. A lot of people, they always want to be taught the newest things, but people need to be reminded more than they need to be taught. I heard that the other day, and I was like, it's so true. It's the basics. It's like, you know, you could learn all these crazy strikes, but really, you know, jab cross is pretty effective if you know how to throw it properly, right?
Yeah, you look at self-defense, like, you know, people come to me, they go, I want to learn self-defense training. I go, well, we could do that, but most of your training is going to be the mindset, because self-defense training is kind of boring. It really is. Like, we just teach you eye jabs, groin hits, and throat hits, but it's really the mentality. Just like anything we teach you, business, martial arts, fitness, if you don't have the mindset to apply it, then who cares?
Yeah.
You know, we could teach you all this cool stuff. We could write out a nutrition plan, macros, micros, what have you. But if you don't actually get up and apply it, you don't act, then really, honestly, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't. And that pertains to self-defense and everything. You know,
applies to everything. It's all about the basics and the principle-based teaching. Love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Like, you know, like back then, and you and I didn't have many role models for business in the martial arts world. Some of them were really scandalous. They had really dubious, like, money-making things, like the lifetime. They had a lifetime membership. You can't do that. Some people have a lifetime membership now, right? And then, you know, you get your black belt in one or 2 years, like
the black belt programs.
Yeah, the black belt program, right? That stuff, like, we typically that was back then, and that was business practices back then. And if you had any kind of ethics, which you do, you know, it just left a bad taste in your mouth. So we had to actually look outside of our industry to learn best business practices. That's what we had to do. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty progressive system.
Awesome. So talk to me now. Let's fast forward into opening Kombat Arts. Now you got this massive facility. What are some of your biggest learning moments from running a huge, because it sounds like you got a huge team, 30 people. What would you say your biggest takeaway has been in the last few years of like running this operation of yours?
You know what? I would say this, and we've touched on it briefly. You have to act. You really do. And I'll tell you why, because like you get to a point where it's paralysis through analysis. You get all this information given to you, right? But at the end of the day, you got to pull that trigger. And that's what I love about martial arts, because like you could train as hard as you want. Am I ready to fight, coach? What should I do? You ask your girlfriend, ask your wife, should I fight? At the end of the day, when you step in the ring, it's you by yourself. And anything you do, right or wrong, the consequences are on you. But you know what? You're going to step out of there going, wow, I won or lost. I learned from it. And I find a lot of people here who open up their own business, they're afraid to act. You need to basically take that information and think about how much you're willing to lose, how much you're willing to lose in the poker game, in the ante-up, so to speak, and just do it. And it gets some feedback, and then just go from there. But you could be like, I have tons of people who ask me things about their business, and I go, you know what? Honestly, dude, you won't really know until you actually do it. Do it on a small scale, like a MVP, a minimal viable product, and just see what happens. And just go from there. Who cares if you fail? I have tons of ideas that flopped in my face.
Oh man,
they flop.
Nobody sees it. Nobody sees it though.
Those ideas sucked. And I go, what was I thinking? I lost like a lot of money on it. And then like, you know what? I go, but you know what? Maybe it wasn't the right time. I'm gonna revisit it later on. I'm gonna put it in the back burner. We'll see what happens. It's like martial arts. Like I look at Guru Dan who trained under Bruce Lee.
Inosanto?
Guru Dan Inosanto, and he looked at some techniques. I'm like, that's never gonna happen. That's just never gonna happen. Sorry, I was young, brash. I worked the door. I know what I'm doing. You know, I train fighters. That stuff was BS. I'm 48 years old this year. And now I look at those techniques. I go, you know what? I can see why we have to do these techniques. It's called health. It's called health and fitness. It may not have any combat application, you know, per se. It depends on the individual, right? But definitely for sure across the board, it's got some great health and fitness application. And you have to recognize that too, right? So some stuff, don't be quick to disregard. They have their time and place. But then for sure, Joe, there are a lot of things like I kick myself, and I go, man, I should have acted because someone else is doing it.
Oh, for
Someone else is
sure.
doing it, and
For
they're
sure.
like, man, I want to do it too now, right? So
You think back to all this stuff that was like, oh, that's not gonna work. I think the older we get, it's like the more like, man, that was a really good idea that I didn't do. So
yeah, and you get chicken, you get scared, as you get older, you're kind of like, you know what, like I don't want to get hit in the head anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. You get a little bit like, a little bit too safe. Like, we're afraid as you get older, right?
Right.
But you know what? Like you gotta do it, man. You just gotta do it. And then it teaches you by doing that. If you could do that, like your child, if you teach your child to like fail quickly, dude, your child will step up every time, no matter what. If you're like, oh no, you failed once, stop. You can't do it again. Like, you're gonna get hurt. Your child's gonna live like in an egg. They're gonna live in a bubble. You can't live like that. You can't.
So actually, before I get into our lightning round with questions from everybody, you're talking about failure. By the way, I beat my son sometimes in races just to teach him a lesson. So I don't let him win all the time. But he needs to learn how to lose. But so what was your biggest fail forward? Like, if there's one instance in your life where like, man, that was the biggest fail forward, that the biggest failure and the biggest lesson at the same time?
You know what? Wow, this was a harsh one. My business partners. My first business partners. You know what? It was circumstances that put me to work with them. And I would not advocate that at all. So I jumped at the chance to work with these individuals because like, I had no money. They had certain assets that I needed. So I thought it would be a good partnership. And that is not the good makings of a good partnership at all. Yeah. You should not go into a partnership because you feel they have certain assets, i.e. cash, to bring to the game. That was wrong. You definitely need to do your due diligence and spend a lot of time with this person and see how they act under stress. When like nowadays, like you see the pandemic going on, you can now find good business partners now to see how they're acting under stress. I never dealt with these people when they acted under stress. So it was interesting to see what happened. And fast forward to the time that I separated from them, I was unfortunately going through a divorce. I went through a divorce and he took it upon that opportunity to try to get rid of me. A lot of people I got to write a book about my club one day, but they tried to basically do a shotgun clause against me. Two out of my business partners tried to do that to me, and they tried to shotgun clause me out and take over the business and get me out of it.
What's the shotgun clause for those that don't know?
So basically, like shotgun clause is usually between two people. All right, I'll explain this later on. So it's between two people that in a corporation, they could approach me and go, listen, I'm going to buy you out for this X amount of money. I'm going to buy you out for this amount of money. If you don't give me that much money, I own the corporation now. That's like the bare bones of it, right?
Okay.
Or you take the money and you're out. And the money they're offering me was chump change. But not only that, too, I built Kombat Arts. Kombat Arts is my name, right? And but they almost caught me. They almost caught me because I was going through this really bad divorce, and I was like, man, yeah, I'll take the money and travel the world and see whatever. I'll just leave it. But you know what? No, I fought for it with my students. The forward was getting better business partners, fighting for it, learning the adversity. I ran away from it. Like, I went to Thailand, I went to the Philippines, I went to BC. But I remember I was in BC, and my friends like, haven't you had enough? Have you had enough partying? Don't you think you need to go back and fight? And I went back and I fought for it. And that was one of the toughest battles. And that's carrying over to nowadays, where the fitness industry is under jeopardy. All our businesses are under jeopardy. And you know what? I can handle it much, much better. Yeah. So I've been there.
It's not that hard now. It's
not that hard. Like when you have people that try to come after your business. And I got an email over Easter. I never checked my email on the long weekend. And I got an email over the Easter long weekend. And he sent it to me going, we're taking over your company. I'm like, wow, you guys sent me an email over the long weekend. And by chance, I happened to check my email. Like, guys, how low of you when I'm going through hard problems and everything. But you know what? It was a great fight. My current business partners are amazing. They helped me fight through it. My student base is there to help me out. I learned so much forward, how to deal with lawyers, a legal system, and all that stuff. And I've got now a beautiful club. 10 years later, we're still going strong. We're still one of the strongest brand names out there.
Absolutely. You've been around a long time, my friend. Sorry?
Hard to push us around.
Yeah. And I think just the beauty of this whole idea is like you see all this success, you see this beautiful building and all these things, but you don't realize these struggles all throughout
Yeah.
build this thing up. And like and now stuff happening now as we've been in the game a long time. It's like, it's tough, but we went through some hard stuff before, right?
It's going to be tough, but we'll be okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to get into some questions. We had some people, and if you're watching this live, feel free to post some questions. I got one from Karen right over here. So she goes, how many times of the day do you work out? And when? Morning, evening, or afternoon? I think it's like a few questions in there. And what foods keep you going on your workout? Who got you into the arts? How old was you when you got started? So let's start with the first one, workout.
Sure. Okay, so Karen, so like typically I try to train when I had a club. I train twice a day. So I train twice a day, and it's usually technical skill and weight training. And that's not every day, but it's usually 1 to twice a day I train. And you know what? That's not basically my choosing. Sometimes that's by design. That's when my training partners are available and my instructors are available. So I typically train in the morning, early afternoon, and then I train in the evening. And then what I try to do for myself, I do my technical skills first in the day, because that's when I'm more creative. My nervous system is fresh. I'm less prone to do any injuries. There's not much thought or balance needed from me to work on those skills, especially learning new skills like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsus, gun disarms, knife stuff, etc., etc. I want to be relatively fresh. Near the end of the day, I do my weight training and cardio, because weight training first, because you still need some balance and there's skill and technique with regards to weight training. And in cardio, I don't like cardio. There's not much skill needed for there. So I pretty much end my day with that. So if I do train twice a week, that's why I plan it out. I mean, twice a day, that's why I plan it out. Technique first and then weight training second. Food. So when it comes to food, you're going to laugh because pretty much I eat everything because my body needs as much fuel as possible. So my job, I have to engage with my clients. I hold pads for most of my clients every hour on the hour. Sometimes I grapple with them. I do stick fighting, knife fighting with them. So I need to eat a lot of stuff. So my game for me is this. I need to eat a lot. So I eat from activity. Hope that helps. So I eat from activity. So if I know that I'm going to train tomorrow twice, tonight I eat a lot of carbs. I do. I carb up. All right. Because I just need the fuel. I really do. And then Joe would tell you that when you run your own business, your brain uses about 70% of your calories. So we really do need to carb up a lot. So I do spend a lot of time on carbs. I know that may like demolish some people's dreams, but carbs are good, guys. Sorry, it is.
Yeah, you need them.
I do, though, balance it out with a lot of vegetables and a lot of essential fatty acids because I'm worried about inflammation. I went for shoulder surgery. My shoulders take a beat up from holding pads all day. So the next part of the game is how do I reduce inflammation? So I eat from activity. You know, I do eat carbs. I do have fats in my diet and everything. But now I eat for recovery. And that means getting all my protein. Do I use supplementation? Yes, I do. I take branched chain amino acids. I used to take protein powder. But lately, I don't know what the quality is with the protein powder. I've had 2 severe allergic reactions with protein powder. So I cut it out. So I do BCAAs now. I find it safer for my body. I take a lot of fish oils. I eat a lot of vegetables. I drink as much water as I can, which I don't like water. But I use it to reduce inflammation. So my eating is based on my activity and on recovery. That's why I plan my eating. I eat and snack throughout the whole day, Karen. When I leave my house, I leave with a big bag. It's filled with like literally the container from Whole Foods of chocolate covered almonds. I have a container of rice. And my whole day is constantly fueling myself because my whole day is physical. Yeah. I started martial arts off typically in my mid teens or like early teens, let's say, like maybe around like 12 or 13. My martial arts, the reason why I started off in martial arts was because of my environment. Like I said, you had to learn how to defend yourself. Racism wasn't really evident, but apparently it was. But you had to know how to take care of yourself. Being a colored person in an all white, all black school, I was one of the fewest Asians in that school. So and everyone, the thing is that everyone thought I was Bruce Lee. Everyone thought I was a martial artist. No one bothered me. Every Asian.
Yeah,
every Asian, they thought everyone's a martial artist. The bad thing is, well, if you got into a fight, you better be able to be like Bruce Lee. So you had to learn how to defend yourself. So it was by design. My environment, I had to learn martial arts pretty quickly. And my influences came from a lot of people. My uncle taught me a little bit of boxing and stick fighting. And then all my friends are into martial arts. Like we would typically go out there and pretend we're 5 deadly venoms. And I want to be Toad. I want to be a snake. If you don't know what that is, because you guys are all young. You never know good martial arts movies until you saw the Kid with the Golden Arm and Five Deadly Venoms. Go look for that kind of stuff. But those are the kind of martial arts movies I grew up on.
Cool. I got another question here for you, Joey. It's from Justin. What arts did you find the most difficult to start learning?
You know, the martial arts I find difficult to learn are actually Kali, the Filipino martial arts. Even though being a Filipino person, I should be really naturally kin to the martial arts. What I actually found difficult for me was the footwork. Martial arts really brings out the best in footwork, and they're not asymmetrical. They're not always fighting left foot forward. They switch up the stance to right foot forward and left foot forward. So for me, I found the switching of the stances, what do you call it? Being loose and relaxed with that footwork was the toughest for me. Coming predominantly from a kickboxing martial art, that was definitely for sure hard for me to break that, switching to a different stance. And you can run. You could run and hit people. That's amazing. Like, I never really realized how hard that was. So Filipino martial arts is definitely the most difficult for me. Conversely, grappling is the easiest martial art for me. Yeah, so for some reason, I found that I'm a better grappler than stand-up. I'm very natural when it comes to grabbing people and choking them out and stuff like that.
I got a theory for that. You know, us shorter guys, we're closer to the ground, so lower center of gravity.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Cool, man. This just wraps it up, but I got one last question. I always love to ask this one. It's about, you talked about martial arts movies. I always think our lives are like a training montage. And then you become like a super assassin at the end of the montage. What's your favorite kung fu action movie and why?
Oh man, I got too many. Holy crow! You know what? I'm gonna pick one that's probably not really popular, and I'll tell you why. I like The Man from Nowhere. Have you heard of it?
I think you mentioned this one before. Is it the Korean one or?
Yeah, it's a Korean movie. It's The Man from Nowhere, and because like, you know what? It's funny. There's some scenes in there, knife fighting scenes. And they're gritty. They're really, really dirty. And then your typical flashy, nice knife fighting is nice martial arts knife techniques with some good street thuggery. Yeah. And you know the reason why I like it? You know, it kind of reminds me of like my martial arts, my push to martial arts. And that's what I like. I liked when I studied martial arts, I like that technical aspect of it. And I appreciate it now as I get older. But when I was younger, like, you know, you proved yourself by actually getting into fights. Yeah. And when I worked the door and everything, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm not making myself sound like a badass because I got beat up a lot. And like, I worked the door. That's
how you learn. That's the best way to learn.
And when I worked the door, it wasn't like Roadhouse. Like it's not that dramatic. I got like bitten. I got stabbed at. There were some really bad situations that made me quit the door. I was not a good doorman, and I would not advocate that for anyone else. But I'll tell you right now, it really taught you what really worked. And so I think that I like The Man from Nowhere because, man, when he fights, you can see some technical aspect, but at the end of the day, you see the martial arts. It's like Bruce Lee said. You know, you talk about the 3 phases, I think, for Bruce Lee. He talks about the animal phase. I'm gonna really butcher the story. The animal beast phase. Then you talk about the scientific phase, and you talk about maybe like when it comes together, the martial arts phase. Mm-hmm. So when you first start martial arts, you don't know anything. But you're a beast. You got that rage. You know how to like you punch. You throw a sucker punch. You got this crazy rage, right? Then someone calms you down and goes, "Listen, you don't know how to stance. You throw a punch like this," and you get scientific, but you get neutered. You get your balls snipped, and you get this thing called respect. You go like, "I respect people. Oh, you know what, Sifu, I respect you. I don't want to punch this guy. I don't want to get punched. But martial arts is dangerous. You never know who's dangerous on the street." Yeah, but you're getting your balls snipped. You are. And then you get Mike Tyson. And you get that animal. You get that guy who puts it together. There's some technical aspect mixed with the anger, that rage. And you need to combine those two together. Because, science takes you so much. Science and, paralysis through analysis. And being a beast, but not getting to the rage where you're not really thinking what's going on, that has to come together. Yeah. And that's why I like The Man from Nowhere. Pretty cool fight there. Dude,
that just applies to like everything. It's like massive, like you said this earlier, massive action with some thought in it. Yeah, but you got to combine them together.
Yeah. So. How much you're willing to lose? Like how much you're willing to lose? Let's put some thought into this, right? Let's put some actual thought into this. How much you're willing to lose?
Awesome. Joey, for all our viewers and listeners, how can they learn more about you or get a hold of you if they want to hear or learn more about you and what you do at Kombat?
Yeah, you know what? I'm pretty easy to reach. You can reach me on Facebook. That's probably one of the easiest way to reach me. That's Joey Kombat with a K. So Joey space Kombat with a K. You can check out our website. It's kombatarts.com with a K. We're releasing a new online training portal, which I've been really happy. That's really, really awesome. So that's going on forward now. But yeah, you guys can reach out to me, Joey Kombat. I try to really restrict my social media because we're getting inundated with a lot of stuff. So it may take about a day or so to get back to you, but I do return the messages. It just takes me a while to get back to you. Okay, guys?
Okay. Joey, thank you again so much for doing this interview and sharing your secrets on health, wealth, and being kick-ass.
Yeah, no problem. One more thing. Your viewers are lucky to have you, Joe. You know what? Honestly, so reach out to Joe, check out his stuff, check out his website, check out his services. He's got great stuff. He's been in the game for a long time. I don't really go on that many podcasts. I'm very, very particular, to be honest. So you know what? I like being on this podcast, and you guys are, the viewers are amazing. So please check out his stuff. Okay, guys? Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.